Alright, so here's my binder. It's broken up into 2 weeks because my curriculum, known as Studies Weekly, goes week by week. So the first week will be about miners and mining camps and towns, and then the second week will be about gender in early California. So here is my unit map. We have about 50 minutes each day for social studies, give or take. And then here are my content notes, and I kind of kept the original ones that I had going into planning just because I like to go back and reflect and see if I'd like to change anything in the future. And then here's all my objectives as well. By the way, ignore my ugly nails in this video. Here is my demographic survey. And I include the context of the school as well. So for my overall history standard, it is standard 4.33. It says students explain the economic, social, and political life in California from the establishment of the Bear Flag Republic through the Mexican-American War, the Gold Rush, and the granting of statehood. Analyze the effects of the Gold Rush on settlements, daily life, politics, and the physical environment using biographies of John Sutter, Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo, and Luis Clapp. And the learning goal for this first one is learners will demonstrate knowledge of why people settled in mining camps and towns by explaining how people found work in mining camps and towns. And so this one, they're going to start off with a KWL chart of this picture. They're going to kind of role play using Monopoly money and other images, how miners came into town and purchased things that they needed for mining from entrepreneurs. So some students will be entrepreneurs, some students will be miners, and they'll be exchanging money in order to get things like mining picks, mining pans, boots, and so on. And then we'll come back and discuss, and they will have a diary entry. I'll have this on a PowerPoint, and each day for this first week, they will be writing according to the questions I display for them about their experiences as a miner, and that will be their assessment. For lesson 2, I forgot to explain too, the ELA and ELD standards. So the ELA standard says, explain events, procedures, ideas, or concepts in historical, scientific, or technical text, including what happened and why based on specific information in the text. The ELD standard states, reading closely literary and informational texts and viewing multimedia to determine how meaning is conveyed explicitly and implicitly through language. And the learning objective for this one states, learners will demonstrate an awareness of a miner's day-to-day life by maintaining a diary about the food, housing, clothing, and people in a miner's daily life. And this will be, students will be mainly filling out this chart about a miner's life. So we have a miner's meal, what their camp looked like, who were they with, what their clothing looks like, and then they will be sharing that, and they will be also, and this will be based on a website, where they'll be getting all the information from, and then they will have their second diary entry. For lesson 3, the learning objective states, learners will demonstrate the ability to recognize Gold Rush entrepreneurs by quizzing one another on entrepreneurs and their business. And so for this one, students will be doing a stand-up, hand-up, pair-up to start off, and then they're going to read the article Gold Rush Economy, and they're going to be taking 3-column notes in this one, and I'm going to have some guiding questions for them right here for them to go off of and check their understanding. And here will be their third diary entry. So for lesson 4, the objective says learners will demonstrate an understanding of different mining camps and towns by presenting a mining camp and town and lifestyle of the miners that camp/town represents. So this is a fun one where they get to go onto a website and they get to pick their own mining camp or town that are still alive today. Some of them will be ghost towns, some of them will still be active, and they will get to create a presentation about that. Camper town, so they'll each get a chance to share. They'll be doing this in groups. And then they'll do a rally robin presentation because presentations might take a while. And then they will have, oh, here's the slide that I'll have for them, what they need to include. So they need to include the status, primary mineral, important details, and write new vocabulary for their slide, if they are doing a slide. So they can do a slide or they can create it on a poster for their presentations. And then their fourth diary entry. Lesson 5, this is going to be their assessment. So because it's week by week, I wanted to assess them after each week. So the learning goal is learners will demonstrate an understanding of hardships/successes of minors by recording the hardships and successes of minors from primary sources. So they're going to be looking over some primary sources, and then they're going to be taking their assessment, which is the life of a, actually, oh, I'm sorry. So they are not looking at primary sources for this one. They are recording what they have read for, learned about for that week. So they're going to have a review. They're going to do a quiz trade, and they're going to write down questions that they might pull out from their diary entry journals to quiz each other on. So they'll get to some review for that, and then after that they will be writing a letter from the perspective of a minor based on the prompt that I give them. So here's the prompt, and then they'll be graded on the writing rubric with it. So they're going to have 3 paragraphs for their letter as a minor. That's their first assessment. Lesson 6. It says learners will demonstrate the ability to describe a woman's experiences during the gold rush by creating a storyboard followed by questions to be answered. So this is going into Gender into California now, where they'll be reading about Nancy Kelsey, an article in our Studies Weekly. They'll be writing a storyboard about her, and then I have some questions of varying levels of DOK levels that they will answer in the back of their storyboard. And then for lesson 7, the learning goal is learners will demonstrate an understanding of the differences women made in the gold rush by presenting about one woman in the gold rush and the differences she made. So in our newsprint for Studies Weekly, there's a couple different women that they will get to choose from, and they'll be doing this in groups. So there'll be a couple presentations about the same women that they're learning about. But they're going to analyze that woman, read about her article. They can even do further research and present on her. And then lesson 8, the objective is learners will demonstrate an understanding of why Mary Ballou's boarding houses were successful by writing a paragraph about why Mary Ballou's boarding houses were successful. So this is going to be an article that they're reading on Mary Ballou. And I'm going to relate it to if students have ever been homesick or if there's certain things that they miss from home, because Mary Ballou was someone who created a boarding house because people loved home-cooked meals and they missed that from home, and it just had a homey atmosphere. So I have sentence frames for them. They're going to be using a bubble map and note-taking for that lesson. Lesson 9. The learning objective is learners will demonstrate knowledge about women's rights to vote during the gold rush by creating signs that explain why women deserve the right to vote. So they will be reading an article about women's rights to vote. There'll be a brain pop video, and then students are going to create their own signs from the perspectives of women arguing why they have the right to vote, and then they'll have a little march at the end of it displaying their signs. And then the final assessment with the learning objective says that learners will demonstrate knowledge about gender in early California by answering questions and writing responses about gender in early California. So for this one, they're going to be taking this test. It's assessment. So it has various questions. It has short response questions. There's the one about the women's right to vote. It has place these in the correct order. There's drag and drop. This will be online. It'll have fill in the blank, multiple choice, the mix match. So it's got a lot of different questions kind of about all of that we talked about that week in women's or gender in early California. And again, students will have the opportunity to do a quiz trade before this to review a little bit. So that is the entirety of the binder. Thanks.